And the floor is yours.
All right. I just want to tell you guys thank you for being here and for coming to listen and see what I have to talk about. Mine's about what I learned in college and also what I learned in my classroom. On my first slide, it's all about college. Oops. What I learned in college. So these are some classes that I took that helped me to become a better teacher. So the first one was students with exceptionalities. This has exposed me as a student to different disabilities that I didn't know and I haven't heard of before. There's so many that we don't really know about until we're actually in the classroom. But what they do not teach you is how to put all of these students together in the same classroom and teach them. So when I was thinking about how I would explain how I feel or explain how I see the students, I kind of put it together as the Marvel team. Whenever Captain America comes in, he can't do all of the things by himself. There's different superheroes that he has to work with to get the job accomplished. So as a teacher, you have to figure out how you're going to get all of your students with these with these different disabilities to work together and also help them learn on your own. This helps you because it helps you work in different ways and learn their learning environments. Each student is different. They learn different ways. They understand things differently. So you have to come up with ways to put them together. And I thought this class was super interesting to me because you learned about how each student worked. But then when I got into my classroom, I had no idea what it would be like until I got there because they're so the same, but also so different. They are each unique, but mighty, and they need to be valued. And I think that was extremely important when I learned from this class. My next class that I learned from was diagnosing and correcting reading problems. So this class we had to do 30 observation hours. So during that semester, we had to tutor a student and we had to help them. They were in early childhood or elementary classrooms. Mine happened to be a first grade student, and we had to give them all of their assessments. It helped me understand the different types of assessment that each student could have, because before that I had no idea about all the different assessments that you have to put into being a teacher. This helped me with my experiences because I didn't know much of paperwork or the performance formal assessments that go with students. Each assessment is different. The instructions, the rules, and the needed modifications to actually perform an assessment with a child is nice to have under your belt, because before you were just doing assessments on classmates who are your age. You practice like you're a child, but you're not. And so it made it easier because you were actually using a child to give you data back. And I know that data is a really scary thing, and it's important that everybody needs to collect it. You collect data on everything that you come into contact with in a classroom. So the more that you use it, the more you collect it, and the more you reflect on it, the easier it becomes. Because when I started in that class, I had to give my student the same test like 3 times because I had no idea what I was doing or how important it was. And I think the different assessments are extremely important because they give you different data. So if you have a learning assessment or a learning assessment, you can figure out the way that they learn or how they are going to understand what you're saying, or if you just understand more about your students than anything else. We'll go on. In college, I learned that I didn't think I would ever learn as much as I did until I got into the classroom. because I didn't know much about teaching before. I just knew that I wanted to do it. And then they put you in classes in college and you don't think that they're very important until you get into the classroom. So if you're still in college and you're kind of wondering, like, why on earth am I taking this class, or why does this even matter? Someday in your classroom, when you're at the end of the hardest day you probably have had and something clicks that reminds you of that class, just hold it together, because I promise it's going to get easier. So in my classroom, my first year, it was anything but normal. The lessons I learned while in my classroom and in a school building. So you can have as many mentors as you want. As a first year teacher in my school, they gave me a mentor teacher, and I met with her once a month to discuss things like if I got my classroom keys, if I turned in my my progress reports, anything that a teacher is supposed to know, she met with me to talk about. But then I had a class that was difficult. I had students that had disabilities, I had behavior issues, and I was in there by myself and I had no clue what I was doing. But these three teachers in this picture with me, so I'll put arrow, this one's me. This teacher, she was a kindergarten or a pre-K teacher, and this was our music teacher, and this was also a kindergarten teacher. They were all they've only been teaching early childhood for less than 3 years. They're all very new at the job. But they were the ones that I went to when I was down and defeated about not, like, one student had not accomplished much in the first 9 weeks and I didn't know what to do. And I just went and talked with them. And then one day I received an email from one of these teachers that was just reminding me that everybody in the building saw me working very hard. They understood the difficultness of my classroom and that I was putting in all of the work that I possibly could. And in that moment that I thought, okay, I'm actually doing this. I'm actually succeeding. Somebody sees me. I'm not alone. And I think that is extremely, extremely important, to not feel alone, because you can have all of the mentors in the building. You can have all of the admin on your side, but until that you really feel comfortable enough to talk to somebody, or comfortable enough to go into their room and sit on their beanbag chair with them and just cry over your day, that's really when you find a good mentor. And those are the people that you hold on to, and those are the ones that will give you the best advice, and they will become more than just your teacher friends. They will become your lifelong friends. And I believe that they don't have to be in your building. They don't have to be in your town or in your city. They can be all over, because the relationships that you build with your colleagues are important. But when you feel comfortable with going to somebody, that's the most important thing. I don't have in this slide, but I'm going to speak on it, is relationships with your colleagues, your grade levels, and your admins. I think when you talk with your administration about how you feel, or you want them to have a relationship with you so they understand who you are and how you teach, is extremely important. And I feel like as an educator, when they hire you, you should explain to them, I need reassurance that I'm doing this correctly. Please check on me. With my administrator in the beginning, we had gone to a professional development workshop in Oklahoma City, and we took our administrator went with us, and it was all about the bringing together the administration and the teachers so that they could understand what we need and how we need to be successful. And so that really helped me explain to my administration that I needed to just know that I was doing things correctly. I was being understood. I was being listened to. I think that's an extremely important part, is if you have something to say and you think that it's going to be for the better of your students, absolutely speak up and hold tight to it, because if it is extremely important to you, then it matters to your students. With your grade levels, I think it's important because I was very fortunate enough to teach with 5 other grade level kindergarten teachers. One of them just happened to be my pre-K teacher when I was in pre-K. So it was super cool to go from a student to a coworker with her and to still see that she was doing some of the same things that she was doing before when I was there. So I thought that was awesome to also teach with her, but to still see that what she was using was helping. And so when COVID-19 made its way to our little town in Oklahoma, we all banded together to decide how we were going to work and everything that we needed to do for our students. So we decided to use the website Seesaw, and one of our kindergarten teachers, she went headfirst into learning everything she possibly could about it. And I believe that we came out on top of the whole mess, because you had to do it as fast as possible and get it done with. And from what we had seen and the different feedback we'd gotten from parents, we felt that we had succeeded in it at much as we could at this with the circumstances. But I really think with talking about it, my whole entire year seemed to be like a roller coaster. There were many highs and there were many lows. And once COVID-19 hit, I just thought this is the cherry on top of my ice cream, and that, of course, this would happen this year. But with the wonderful teachers that I got to teach with, this was a breeze, and they made it so easy, and they were so helpful with me. But the number one thing that it made me realize is yes, we are teaching these students counting, writing, reading, and everything else that we're supposed to teach them with curriculum, but also we are providing them with food twice a day and loving them with all that we have and being someone that they can lean on. So I learned that this was no longer just a job, but there was a reason why I was here. And so I believe that COVID-19 was a blessing in a way to really prove to me that I was ready to be in this profession. And so that is my little bit of COVID-19. But what else I learned in the classroom is to be a team player. Through your grade level in your school, I think that janitors, secretaries, and cooks should be your number one priority in making people around you happy. They keep the school running 24/7. Without these jobs, the school wouldn't run, and it wouldn't smoothly at all. In one of my many stories of my first year, our principal, who is also a basketball coach, was gone for a basketball tournament, and we had a water leak that they had to shut the whole water to our building off. So we had to think fast, and we could not keep 4 to 7 year or over 200 4 to 7 year olds in a class or in a school for the next 3 hours without letting them go to the bathroom, because bathroom breaks are extremely important in early childhood classrooms. So our secretary thought right away, we have to get them home. We have to find ways to help them get out of here. And so the secretary jumped on it. By 12:30, all of the students that were able to leave were gone, and we were doing with what we could. We were running to the city library across the road to take bathroom breaks, but she jumped on it as fast as she could, and before you knew it, our principal called and was asking how the day was going, and she had forgot to mention to him that we had a water leak. So it was really important. She didn't even have to ask. She jumped into it. So I think that those are such important jobs. The janitors have been working crazy, ridiculous hours over the last 5 months to get everything clean all the time. They're putting themselves out there to do it. I think they're the most important people, and you should always say hello to them. You should always say hello to the secretaries and the cooks because they take care of you more than you think. And I learned that very, very soon in Alva with my teachers and my with the janitors, the secretaries, and the cooks in my building. Classroom management is one of the hardest things to get the hang of. That is so true. And you can take all of the classes, you can read all of the books, you can discuss with other people, but until you really get the hang of it, it's just going to be one of those things that you have to take day by day. For me, it was really difficult because I didn't want to seem mean. I didn't want to have the students wondering why I was yelling, but then you have to put, there's yelling and then there's being a teacher. And some days they're ready to listen and then some days they are just not. And you can tell, it comes. They are chaotic, they run in, you know this is going to be a day that they try and to test you and to keep you on your toes and really, really try and get you to just throw in the towel. But I learned that the students understand the classroom management is with trust, respect, and feeling safe. One of my hardest students that I had, he did not like structure. He did not like to sit on the carpet when we were sitting on the carpet. He did not like to walk in the line like we were walking in the line. Nothing that I was ready to do, he wanted to do. So I had to figure out how I was going to get him to do the things that we were doing and understand him. So whenever the other students were having center time or they were doing their stations, I would pull him aside and we would talk and we would play with the dinosaurs that he would bring over. We would just have a little one-on-one time. And before I know it, he was sitting on the carpet with us. He was getting in line when I asked him to. He finally became like one of my greatest helpers. If I needed a book returned to the library, he was the first one to do it. He walked all the way there and all the way back. He became very respectful. And I just feel like if you talk with your students and you have one-on-one time with the ones that just don't feel like they are all in your classroom, you just have to give them just a little nudge and see what it is. Have them talk with them. Enjoy what they show you. If a student sometimes can't communicate with speaking, let them build something for you. Let them color something for you. Let them listen to you. Put something together with them. I feel like everybody asks what teachers wear or kindergarten teachers wear to school. And I wear colored jeans to school almost every day because I'm on the floor with my students constantly. We're building things on the floor. And I feel like if you put you put all into your classroom, you are number one, all in, and you give those students everything you got, they will understand you. They will see that they have all of your attention. And I think that's really where you start to get classroom management, is when they trust you, respect you, and they feel safe, because not many students have safe places. This might be the only safe place that they can come to. And once they realize that this is safe, this is theirs, you are all in for them and you will do everything you possibly can for them. That's when they really realize that you are there for them and they will begin to listen and trust and respect you. I think that's very important. And finally, at the end of the day, one of the most important things I learned from college is being in my own classroom is to love your students for who they are and what they bring, because you might be the most consistent person in their life. And this is extremely important because some students come from single parent homes, some are being raised by relatives, some are being raised in foster homes. And I never really saw that as a student in school or even in college. I didn't even understand half of the things that come along with being a teacher, what you are exposed to, what your students are exposed to. And so I believe that loving them, respecting them, and letting them know that you are there for them is extremely important. Love your students who make you want to rip your hair out every day, but every day, but 1 day a week. This is for the students that get on your last nerve. I know it's really not nice to say, but it's going to happen. They're going to do things that push you, and they know that they can, they see it, but love them. Love them with all that you have and show them that you're there for them no matter what. Love the student who cannot read a whole sentence last week, but today you can read 2 sentences, because those students are trying. They are the ones that want to be better, and it's going to make your heart melt. Those are the light bulbs that you see over their heads when they finally understand what they're getting, because it's so cool to see a student finally realize that they got something correct. When they can finally read the sentence, the cat in the hat, and they think that's all they read for the rest of the week, let them, because they are learning something, and you were the one that helped them learn that. Love the student who is difficult to love, because you may be the only one fighting to love them. This goes back to where students possibly may not have come from a good home. They have not come from love. They have come from difficult times, and they just need to be loved. They need to understand what it is, and you can be the one that does it, because if a student is in your classroom, you are responsible to love them, and you're responsible to keep them safe. And I believe that one of the best ways to do it is to love them and to give them all that you have into what you're teaching them and what you are showing them. And then finally, enjoy the time with your students. Make them all feel so special, because in their eyes, you are the most special person they may know. So just enjoy your time in your classroom. Don't get so caught up in classroom management or in the assessments or into the curriculum. Just enjoy being with your students, learning with your students, because in a way, if they come into your classroom, it could be their first year too. It was my first year in kindergarten, and it was all 14 students, their first year in kindergarten as well. So I think it's extremely important to just enjoy time with them, soak up all the time that you can with them, enjoy going on field trips together, enjoy every minute that you have with those students, because you get them for a year and then you have to move them on, and you might be moving schools. I'm moving schools, and COVID-19 took the last 9 weeks of my first year with my first students away, and now I'm not even going to get to see them in the hallways, and I'm sometimes see them around town, but it really, really stinks that I won't get to see them or watch them grow anymore in the classroom or in the school building as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was great. I would like you to start posing questions in the chat box. This can be anything about first year teaching, things that she's learned, things that she would do differently. Does anybody have any questions for her?